Shalom, friends. On today's program, Simon Peter faces the biggest crisis of his life. How will the rock hold up? Find out next on Our Jewish Roots with Bible teaching by Dr. Jeffrey Seif.
Sunrise on the Galilee. Simon Peter prepares his nets for a day at sea. Much like the sea, Peter is unpredictable, calm and steady. And then, in an instant, tempestuous. As we reflect upon the Lord's most intriguing disciple, we can see ourselves, because we too have been broken and then restored. We too, in so many ways, are much like Peter.
We are so glad you've joined us today. I'm David Hart.
I'm Kirsten Hart.
I am Jeffrey Seif.
I don't know if you've ever had a moment in your life where it's that woulda, shoulda, coulda moment where you wish you could go back in time and change what you said or what you did. Peter had one of those. It was a big one, but this was also the man who witnessed the transfiguration. He walked on water. He defied gravity. Not his best moment, but I think he would have changed it if he could have.
You know, it's not a scripted statement, but as you were speaking, I thought, not his best moment. It's true. It's disappointing, but it's human. It's life.
It is. I've said so many things. We've said things to each other. I mean, we get along very well.
Don't say what it is.
No, but a few times where I'm like, oh, I really shouldn't have said that, or I shouldn't have done that.
Yeah.
And we live with that, but there's always forgiveness.
You know, in another world, I have a career in police and as a police trainer. And you know, there's a saying: when you pull the trigger on a gun, you can't call the bullet back. You can't say, "Oops, my bad." You have to live with it. So you want to be careful before you put your finger in the trigger guard. Never mind pull the trigger. You know, we have history in life, and we can't always take back. I only hope in life the things that I do right outperform the things that I do wrong, but I know because I'm human, the world gets a little bit of both.
Thank goodness that our words that we've said and the actions that we've done aren't written down, that everyone throughout history is reading and going, oh, you did a bad thing. You know what I mean? We all have that.
You're 2 for 2 on good points in my mind.
Oh,
I wouldn't
you.
want the world to see my mistakes.
I agree.
I just thank God that he sees them and blots them out in the sea of forgetfulness.
Amen. Right now, we take you to the place on the night Jesus was betrayed.
Night had fallen in Jerusalem, and the Lord's final hours were quickly approaching. On this Passover evening, while families quietly gathered to celebrate liberation, a cruel plan was unfolding. The stillness of Gethsemane would be vanquished by a multitude of guardsmen carrying swords and clubs. It would be a fateful night of accusations, betrayal, and bloodshed.
פסח. פסח עכשיו.
זה חג שכולו מדבר על גאולה.
אתה חושב שמה שקרה הרגע זו גאולה? לחתוך לעבד ההוא את האוזן? זו גאולה?
ישוע אמר לנו שאחד מאיתנו יבגוד בו, ושיוביל אותו למיטה, אתה זוכר?
כן, אני זוכר.
זה לא יהיה אני. אני אמרתי לו שאני מוכן להצטרף אליו למוות אם יהיה צורך בכך.
הוא גם אמר שהשטן שם לו אותך למטרה. אתה תעבור דאיש. כמו חיטה. תיזהר! למה אמרת שלעולם לא תתכחש לו? אנחנו לא יודעים לאן כל זה יוביל. אתה רוצה להירדף גם על ידי זקני העם?
באותו ערב שישוע ביקש מאיתנו להתפלל איתו, הוא התחנן בפנינו, חבריו הטובים ביותר, שנתמוך בו בתפילה על מה שעתיד לבוא, ומה אנחנו עשינו?
טוב, היינו עייפים.
בדיוק! זה באמת חג פסח מאוד מוזר. בהתחלה הוא רוחץ את כפות רגליי. אדוננו רחץ את כפות רגליי.
אז הבגידה הזו על ידי יהודה. אחד מאנשיו.
כל השאר ברחו, אבל אני הבטחתי ללכת בעקבות האדון. אני הבטחתי ללכת בעקבות ישוע.
I don't know if you have ever had the opportunity to arrest anyone. I have. In another life, I served as a police officer, and in that capacity, I worked patrol on the streets, and for a season, I worked as a marshal for the court, in the context of which I was given warrants that I had responsibility to execute. I mention that here because a warrant for arrest is executed. There's a story where Judas Iscariot, a man from Cariot, a city not far from Jerusalem. The other disciples were from the Galilee, far away. Judas has procured a band of soldiers, and they make their way to seize Jesus. I'm glad I wasn't in the group. One of those who attended the group, Malchus, had his ear cut off, and you know who did it? A guy named Peter. I want to look at the book. In the Matthean Gospel, we're looking at chapter 26. Here we're told they came with swords and clubs. In the Johannine Gospel, the Gospel of John, we're told that they came with lanterns and torches as well. And the reason why they came with lanterns and torches was because they came in the middle of the night. Because they couldn't come around in the day and arrest Jesus. Because thousands of Jews were running around the place saying, Hoshiana, Baruch haba b'Shem Adonai, Hosanna, blessed be he who comes in the name of the Lord. Interestingly, Jesus was popular amongst the rank and file. His miracles and his sage teachings attracted people to him. But, overrun with envy, the ruling Kohanim, the ruling priests and leaders were chagrined, and stealthily they took pains to arrest Jesus in the middle of the night when no one was around. We're told in the context of the arrest in verse 51 that suddenly one of those with Yeshua stretched out his hand and drew his sword, and he struck the high priest's servant and cut off his ear. Now, Matthew tells us someone cut off someone's ear. And it's interesting, by the way, none of the synoptic gospels, Matthew, Mark, and Luke, don't name him. Just one of the disciples did it. John names him and says it was our man Peter. In the aftermath, Jesus says, put that sword away. And he goes on to say, don't you know that those that live by it will die by it? Now, it's interesting, I should say, and when I think of the moment, we live in a world today that's rather turbulent, whether it's the streets of America or whether it's countries in the world. You know, people get turned upside down, circumstances go awry, there's anger, there's militancy, there's war, and the question here is Jesus just saying no to all of that. There's no place in the world for a soldier or a police officer. Well, indeed there is. In fact, elsewhere in the Newer Testament, we're beckoned to be respectful to those who carry that God-ordained authority. But the point is that the kingdom of God does not advance by the sword. And that's what distinguishes it from all else, by the way. I mean, if you look at the world that we live in, powerful leaders have held their torch high for a season and dominated. And they expanded their kingdoms, whether it's Genghis Khan, Napoleon, Alexander the Great, whoever it is. You know, famous generals who became emperors in Rome, you know, by the dint of their own determination, they go forth and conquer, they hold their torch high for a season, and then it vanishes. Kingdoms come and go. In fact, it's a poor translation of the Matthean text where we're told later that Jesus sent his disciples to go and preach the gospel to all nations. It doesn't mention nations. It says ethnos in the Greek, which all peoples. Nations are artificial constructs. They come and they go. The borders change. The only nation that's noted, particularly in the Bible with the destiny, is Israel, interestingly. But nations come and go. God's concerned to reach all peoples. And the way peoples are reached, it's not by the sword. Interestingly, Jesus never lifted up a pen, never mind a sword, but his teachings are known the world over. And in conjunction with his teachings, we see here an example of Peter, who fell asleep on the job earlier, literally. He wakes up startled when the arrest party comes. He throws out a sword and he cuts off the ear. And once again, Jesus looks at him and says, no, no, no. Don't we all make mistakes? Well, in that, of course, we do. And so it is, we are in many ways much like Peter.
Our resource this week, the Pray for the Peace of Jerusalem bumper sticker. Proclaim Psalm 122, verse 6, just as we do at the end of every program. This vinyl sticker has a 3D effect as the bold white letters jump out from the blue and black marbled background. When you contact us, ask for a copy of this series on DVD for yourself or to give to a loved one. Call 1-800-WONDERS or visit us at levitt.com. Our Jewish Roots is more than just a television program. See what you are missing on our social media outlets.
On Facebook and Twitter, you'll find our daily Name of God devotional, current news articles, the Bearded Bible Brothers, and more.
On our YouTube channel, you'll find Faith Foundations, music, interviews, the Bearded Bible Brothers, and more.
Or find everything on our website, levitt.com.
We invite you to keep in touch and join us on social media.
There are few things in this world as beautiful and wonderful as the olive trees in Israel, and there are fewer things as special as the Garden of Gethsemane, where Dr. Seif was teaching in this program. Glorious. Here's a great thing. We bring you there and we go to a private garden. And we have to have a special key to get into this gated area where we have special quiet time with the Lord, where he prayed.
I know the last time that I was there, I wept in that spot. It's just so phenomenal to be in that very spot.
There really isn't anything like it in the whole world. We would love for you to go with us and experience the Holy Land. It's easy. Go to our website. Also, when you're on our website looking at our tour information, be sure to sign up for our free newsletter, the Levitt Letter. All kinds of information on the website and on social media.
I want to go back to our tour. We know that some of you, there's just no way that you can ever get to Israel on a tour with us. We understand that, so we thank you for allowing us to go to these places that you see and teach and sing and worship to make you feel like you're there. We thank you for your support. Right now, we continue our story as Peter reflects upon that terrible moment when he denied knowing the one to whom he'd sworn allegiance, his Lord and Master, Yeshua, Jesus.
זה היה הערב הנורא בחיי.
תהינו מה קרה לך.
אחרי שהלכת, אני עקבתי אחרי ישוע. בשעה שהשומרים לקחו אותו אל קייפה.
פיטר, מה קרה?
אני הבטחתי לו שלעולם אני לא אתכחש לו. אני הבטחתי לו.
אתה... התכחשת לו?
כן.
חיפה, איך יכולת?
ולא פעם אחת בלבד, אלא בשעה אחת, 3 פעמים.
פיטר.
ואז התרנגול קרה, בדיוק כפי שהוא אמר שיקרה. ואז הוא הסתכל עליי, ישר בעיניים, אנדרו. הוא הסתכל עליי ישר בעיניים. ואז אני נזכרתי במה שהוא ניבא שיקרה. אני אכזבתי אותו.
A lot of things run through a minister's mind before they minister. Perhaps the communicator is recalling a book they read, something in the biblical text. For this segment, the most important thing I need to recall is my own humanity. I mention that because we're at a place in Scripture where we're looking at Peter's. The story starts off good enough. We're coming out of the Last Supper, a Passover Seder, and Yeshua, Jesus, is there with his Talmidim, with his disciples, and they're singing the Hallel in verse 26. Standard fare in a Jewish Passover Seder. It ends with a lot of praise, but then Jesus throws him a curve. In verse 26, verse 27 actually, Yeshua said to them, "You will all fall away, for it is written, I will strike the shepherd, and the sheep will be scattered." Well, Peter would have none of it. In verse 29, again, chapter 14, in the Gospel of Mark, Peter said, "Even though all fall away, I won't." Well, he said I won't, but he did. We're going to look at that momentarily, but here he is saying, "No, I'm better than them." He distinguishes himself from the group and finds himself more meritorious. In his estimation, he has more resolution than the rest do, but not so, as we'll see. Jesus presses it again. "No, you are going to deny me, and not just once, but 3 times. Well, in verse 31, Peter insists that he won't, but we know that he does. We know because we flip the page. We read the story. Jesus gets arrested and there's a crisis. No one expected that. And Peter is following at a distance to see how this is going to play out. He's seized by the authorities and he's noticed. And someone says, "Wait, hey, aren't you one of his disciples?" Peter denies it. We get into the thick of the story, and it really is quite sad, to tell you the truth. And I should say here that when we look at the Gospel of Mark, arguably we're looking at Peter's reminiscences. Mark put it down for him, but we get a window into Peter's soul. So you know you're working with personal understanding here. He began to curse himself, we're told in verse 71, and to swear an oath. He's emphatic. "I do not know this man." When challenged, "Hey, Peter, aren't you associated with him?" He presses it. He brings down curse upon himself, we're told. He swears by an oath. He is as emphatic as he knows to be. And he says, not just that I don't know him, but he who originally said, when the question was raised, Jesus asked, "Who do men say that I am?" Peter was the one who said, "You are the Messiah, you are the Christ." But now here, Peter on the other end of the journey with Jesus says, "I don't know this man." Here he's just a man. We're told in verse 72, right then, a rooster crowed a second time. And then we're told that Peter called to mind the word that Yeshua had said to him. See, if we're entering into Peter's thought world, only Peter could give us access to that. It was right there and then when Peter recalls in his mind what Jesus told him. And then finally we get out of this section and he broke down and began to weep. Peter was quite the disappointment here, wasn't he? Yes, he didn't just disappoint Jesus, he disappointed himself. Sometimes there can be a chasm between what we espouse and the way that we live. Better it is that we keep those close together. We don't want too much of a rift. We want congruence between what we are and the way we represent ourselves in this world in various ways. But here we see the gap widen here. It's a crisis moment, and Peter doesn't know Jesus. He takes a look at himself, and he breaks down. It's a sad moment when he sees the way he performed. You know, it's a tough moment, but there's good news, and the reason why I say that is in so many ways we're much like Peter, that imperfect are we, the person who's speaking, the person who's listening. We all have feet of clay from the neck down, and when we see Peter here in a bad way, we can remember the grace of God was sufficient even for that moment. If you find yourselves at a place right now where you're less than what you ought to be, what you know to be, let me encourage you to turn to the Lord. He'll turn to you if you turn to him, and he has a way of restoring, doesn't he? He did it to Peter, he did it to me, he does it to us. For in so many ways, we're just like the man we're reading about here. We're so much like Peter.
There's an old hymn that we sing in our churches. You've probably sung it too. It says, "Once I was a sinner, but I'm saved by grace." I don't think we're done sinning, but hopefully that gets less and less as our walk with Yeshua.
Right. I'm not familiar with the hymn because I was raised in the synagogue, but kudos to your point. We still take the old nature into the new economy, and thankfully the Lord's grace follows us into the new economy. We need it.
Like it happened with Peter.
It surely did.
And I was just thinking about Peter and, gosh, we beat each other up. We believers, sorry, but we tend to, we see something like, oh, you denied him, you're going to just beat him up. I think the point when Peter heard that rooster crow, he beat himself up enough. And what we can do is give love, we can give grace, we can try to restore, and that's, to me, more important than, you blew it. You blew it, Peter. He knew he blew it.
He did. He wept.
He did.
And he was a strong man, bullheaded, and he broke down. I really like Peter. You know, I was just so glad to do a series on Peter because in so many ways we're all much like Peter.
We are an give grace, love, compassion. That's what the Messiah did. And Jesus, I love that he even said, you're going to do this. And Peter's like, I will not. You're going to do this. He was kind of trying to preface this is going to happen. And Peter was like, no, I won't. And yes, he did. But we all do.
You know, I mean, I sit here now. It says Dr. Jeffrey Seif in front of my name. You know, I'm a Bible college seminary professor. In another world, a police officer. I loved giving breaks to people. The police chases were okay, and you had to do some fights to the ground, and you know, you got to go hands-on and do that sort of thing. But it just gave me a lot of pleasure to give a break. And I tell people, listen, you know, I'm a Christian. The Lord's given me some breaks. I'm happy to spread around some love, you know, and it's just great to be gracious. God is.
I have a picture on my phone that I love to look at quite a bit as I'm scrolling. It's Peter under the water, his perspective, looking up at Jesus and Jesus' hand coming down to grab him.
Yeah.
Where he took his eyes off of him, but focused back on Jesus.
Yeah, I've seen that picture too. Would that people got the picture too. You know, there could be some watching TV, you never know, and you just think you're underwater in life. And the reason why you think you're underwater in life is because you are underwater in life. Welcome to reality. You're just facing it. But if you'd look up, you might see a hand coming down as well. Make your way to a church. Get on your knees, reach up to God. You'd be surprised. A lot of us were sinking, and a lot of us were stinking, you know, but the Lord lifts us up.
And we just have to remember also, too, that regret, and I know Peter had regret, eats us up on the inside, and that Scripture tells us if we're forgiven as far as the east is from the west. God's go, what do you mean? What regret? I don't even remember that.
Right.
And he goes on.
You know, I'll tell you straight up, you know, as a dad, I have a kid who's raised some kids, and it's just been years of up and down, drugs and everything, and, you know, I tire of it, but the grace is always there. When he turns, I turn to him. If he turns away, he turns back. I just really mean well for him. I get it. He's got an itch. There's a problem. Thank God he's getting over it. But it's taken years. It's been a journey. But my love's always been there. I think God's like that too.
It is a journey. You raised 2 boys. Dave and I raised 2 boys. Our friend Carolyn Hyde raised 2 boys. She's just such a treat. And sometimes you meet people and you're just like, hi, nice to meet you. And Carolyn Hyde, I could have just sat with her for hours.
You did.
We did. We just stayed after this interview that you're about to see, and we just kind of hung out and chat. I know you're going to want more of Carolyn after you hear her right now.
Well, first of all, it was the Lord, because we try not to do anything, especially a big move like that, just on our own, you know, for fun or whatever. And so the Lord made it really clear. We initially settled in Haifa and the Western Galilee, but then the Lord moved us here to the Eastern Galilee, or what most people call just the Galilee. And it was during the war, and he made it so clear this is where we belong. It's amazing who God has gathered here in the Galilee. It's just like what's written in Isaiah 9, that, you know, the people walking in darkness have seen a great light, in Galilee of the Gentiles. And so there's like a move of so many worshipers to this region, particularly to a village that's very near our village. A lot of Christians and Messianic Jews live there. We don't live there. We chose to live somewhere else because it's real easy to live in a bubble and then never learn Hebrew and just speak English all the time. And we didn't want to do that.
So you grew up speaking Hebrew?
No, I grew up with prayers in the synagogue in Hebrew, but that's not the way people talk. So I had to learn it when we moved here, and I'm still learning it. I like to say I'll be in Ulpan lenetzach, eternal Ulpan.
Learner, yes. So as a believer in Yeshua, if you don't mind me asking, what difficulties do you face being in Israel, and especially in the Galilee, believing?
Having grown up in an Orthodox synagogue, I was taught as a child that the Nazis were Christians, that all Christians hate me because I'm Jewish, and so that was how I grew up. And so I understand that spirit that Saul had as he was riding to Damascus. And so, I always ask people, please don't hate the Orthodox. Please just pray that they fall off their donkeys and see the light of Yeshua, the love of Yeshua. And I didn't know that love. I had a supernatural vision of Yeshua. That's how I came to faith. And from the time we made Aliyah, we love to share the best news ever. Yeshua hu Adon. Yeshua is the Lord.
Carolyn, you gorgeous woman, thank you for becoming a new friend and taking your precious time to share your heart with us. If you resonated with Carolyn like we did, look her up on the internet. Her music is beautiful, and most of it is from Israel. She tapes right there.
Yeah, my wife's real friendly with Carolyn, too.
She's great. We have more coming up next week.
Time to go.
More good stuff all about Peter.
Time to go now. Thanks for joining us. As you go, Sha'alu Shalom Yerushalayim.
Pray for the peace of Jerusalem. Join us right now for additional content that is only available on our social media sites, Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter. Visit our website, levitt.com, for the current and past programs, the television schedule, tour information, and our free monthly newsletter, which is full of insightful articles and news commentary. View it online, or we can ship it directly to your mailbox every month. Also on our website is the online store. There, you can order this week's resource, or you can always give us a call at 1-800-WONDERS. Your donations to Our Jewish Roots help us to support these organizations as they bless Israel. Please remember we depend on tax-deductible donations from viewers like you.